Hi everybody, welcome back to those who have been hanging with me some time, and welcome to those of you who are new to my channel. I'm Adele Levine, intuitive and medium, and that is my cat eating right now. So let's get started. So I thought it would be cool to do something that's kind of come up over and over in readings, especially as of late, but period, I find myself saying these things to people to kind of help them understand. Wow, she's going to town. How the other side works. I've always tried to present things kind of, sliced up, like different, subject matters that can be really big subject, which is what is the other side like? What do people say, who have died? And to break it down to different topics. And today's topic is the top things. And I didn't want to give a number because there's so many top things. I don't feel like I could just, narrow it down to only, let's say, 5. I think it's more important to just kind of say there are top things that kind of come over and over that I have learned from the other side. And it is what spirits say kind of consistently. So in a sense, I guess there are the top, maybe 3, 4, 5 of them, but I wanted it to be clear that there are so many top subjects that are just as important, but I'm just going to narrow this down to kind of human relations almost that they have shared with me. So first off, make it clear that when people pass and the other side isn't really like another world. So I've said this many, many times, and let's say it again. We can throw up an onion here. It is like an onion with layers, and we are one layer and they are in the outer layer, or you can equate it to the ocean. And this is actually what I've learned from a spirit in a reading. This is what they said to me. We are like the ocean. We are part of the earth, but we are not living in the same way. So like the ocean, there is so much vast more going on that we have even tapped into. So like the ocean, it is a part of our world. It's a part of our earth. However, it isn't the way we live. So we live on land, obviously, and we breathe in this and this and this and that. And the dynamics and the rules of the ocean are very different, how to live. And according to each, fish and each species that are in the ocean. And so they have said to me, or a spirit once told me, that the world we're in is just like the ocean. We're a part of your world. We affect your world. You affect us, but we are living in very different ways. They don't need a body. They don't need a physical self. So they don't need to interact in their world the same way we do. So with that said, I'm going to share what people have told me. And I even wrote down, because I never write anything down, by the way, a little like reminder, not even a list, just keywords. So one of the top ones that I hear about is, and I'm looking at my list, is the most important one is about love. People always kind of want to know, is my grandmother and my grandfather together? Are my parents, they were kind of like maybe rocky, are they together? And what I hear over and over is, if I want to be with someone, connect with them, have that connective, heart, spirit, energy, then I will. And if I don't, I don't. So marriage does not continue on in the other realm. And I know for a lot of religious people, they will completely disagree, but this is what I've learned. And thank God, because if you are in a situation on earth that you're having, a difficult time with someone and you've been married to them for 30 years and it just hasn't gone well, but you stuck it out and now you're like, do I have to do the rest of eternity? No. Also, let me explain what they show me is that they will go over why they were with that person. What did they learn? What made them stay? All these things. What did they not learn and what did they miss? And that is kind of the most what they talk about. I also learned that I didn't do what was the best for me and things like this. And they kind of learned, some people have told me they haven't ever experienced true love and things like that. And so they realize and they go over the relationship. So it's not oh, it's all that person's fault and I'm great. They take responsibility for the things they put into it. But in that realm, you don't have to physically be with someone like we are here. We kind of cohabitate because we're trying to deal with the elements and deal with the world. And we find a love partner that we want to grow with and deal with this earth. But in that realm, you don't have to cohabitate. So when people say, are they with them? It's very different. If you have a love connection with someone in that realm and you had it with that person in this realm, then those two souls still intertwine just like they did here. And you continue on just in a very different way. Now, that leads to my next one that I didn't write down. That was actually the one that inspired this video, which is actually about the different generations. Meaning, yes, I'm going into different generations this time, but differently. But meaning people who passed quite a while ago, who come from, let's say, people who were in their 80s or 70s and they passed 10 years ago or whatever, they will talk about how different things were in their time and that they had no idea that a world could be different or that they could have lived differently. And some people even share, I wish I had the opportunities. And this comes a lot from women, I hate to say, but a lot of older women will say that, my rights were very limited. I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that and things like this. And I was very limited in what I could do. And it depends on the region and the culture and all kinds of things as to why that was. And that's what's really interesting. But they definitely recognize and will say, okay, maybe I taught my children or my grandchildren that you must get married and you must have 5 kids or 5 kids or something like this. And you must do these things because that's how I grew up doing. And then they pass and they see how the world has changed and evolved and they have a much more broader view. And they realize, you know what? Things aren't the way they used to be. Also, there are some people who say, I actually felt this way all this time. I did want to be progressive. I did want to live my life differently, but I felt suppressed by society and the expectation of me and the way of the world was. And so I gave in to that because I really didn't feel like I had a choice. So people learn whatever generation they were in and they passed, they learn and they learned a different broader perspective of realizing that when they were living, that they were maybe in a smaller, restricted world. So they'll want to share with the person I'm reading, you know what? This is what I've learned, and I don't want you to go through this. And I might have told you that when I was alive, but I have definitely changed it. So that is a top thing I hear a lot. People will explain their childhood and why they became the parents that they were. They'll explain, what happened to them before you were born, before they had you and who they were. And they get things out that they never really shared with you when they were alive. And they want to explain, you know what, we understand that you're living in a different time and now I want to help you through it. So that is definitely a top one. Okay. The other is the compassion. People are very surprised at how much compassion there is, which kind of I want to link it to the other one that I was going to bring up, which is freedom. Hold on. I'm getting excited. Hold on. Which is freedom. People tend to always be very surprised. They'll tell me, I had no idea that there was freedom to explore who I am, where I want to go, how I want to learn, how I want to evolve, that there isn't someone waiting for me at a gate, checking my name off and seeing, judging me and telling me this is what you've been up to. This is what you've been up to. They're very surprised at that, happily surprised at also the love and the compassion and the empathy they feel while they're discovering these things, while they're learning this new world. But they are surprised to find how much room they have, how they're not restricted or there's rules or regulations of how the afterlife is. The other is very important, and I did write it down, which kind of goes with freedom, is, and I'm going to save the best one for last, the most number one thing that I will say for last, which is how easy it is, which kind of goes along with the freedom. People are surprised to see how easy it is. People describe it like it's like, as they're passing, it might be a little bit, like at first they're a little afraid, and then they kind of drift out and they kind of drift in between the worlds. And they describe it like I just either pop out of my body and that is that, or it's like walking through a door into another room, or it's like opening a window and just like walking through it. They always describe it as so much easier than they thought it was going to be. They thought it was going to be this whole thing, like this whole shebang of like, of like horses on chariots. Horses on chariots? Do we have horses on chariots coming down, and a man at the gate, with, these big wings and a halo and opening up the gates. They are very surprised to see how easy it is. And yes, that includes the very religious, because I read for religious people as well. The number one thing that I have learned so much over and over and over again is what people really focus on when they are looking at their life, when they are looking at the big picture. There's my cat. When they are looking at how everything kind of works, when they are looking and seeing how they live their life, is the moments are important. They realize that the big house they got, the money they had, the career they had, or how well they threw a party, all of those things aren't really what people tend to be focused on. They're focused on the moments, small moments, sitting at the table, having a cup of tea with someone, or a cup of coffee for me, and having a discussion, laughing with someone, your favorite friend, watching your child, go to school for the first time, all kinds of things. They describe the moments all the time. And if there's ever a time where they reflect and say, I wish I would have had more of those moments. And that ties in to parents who go, I realized that I was living so harshly on what I thought I was supposed to be as a parent, that I missed those moments with my children or in relationships. So the moments is what people describe all the time. So one of the things I've taken away from that, out of all the 18, now I think I'm going on 19 now that we're in 2022 years of reading, is that when I'm like in a moment, I do take note of it. I do see the moment. It's hard for me to be grounded. I'm someone who's always focused on the future, or I'm always focused on the other side, but it isn't that I get lost without seeing the moment. I do recognize special moments and know that those moments you can't really capture. And that is what I've learned the most. And I don't mean in a way where people say enjoy the moment. I mean where you're in this moment, feels very magical. You're having a hug, you're having a conversation, someone's sharing something deep, meaningful with you, and there's some kind of magic in that moment. That is what people notice and think about the most. If you look at the movie Soul, I've mentioned it before, they kind of show that in that movie. It's the moments in time. It isn't the bigger things. Now, it's not to say that those things don't mean something to people, because they do. And I read for people all walks of life, people very well renowned, all kinds of things who have passed, all kinds of people. And they all say the same. Those things do mean, and they are very happy they had an effect in the world and things. But they're really looking at, did I miss those moments, or was I too busy looking over here? And they really analyze that. Analyze is the wrong word, but they kind of feel and go, wow, I want them to know that I did enjoy the moments. Maybe I didn't tell you, maybe I didn't verbalize it. Or, wow, I realized I didn't look at those moments like I should have. And that is the number one that I hear all the time, is how they are looking at those moments. And so that would be leading us to the idea that it's not so much that you have to slow yourself down and say, that's it, I can't strive or have goals. That's not the point. Of course, you can have goals, you can have things that you want to do and aspirations and places you want to go and things you want to accomplish. But when you're sacrificing all of that and missing out, if you're sacrificing all these moments for that, that's what I'm talking about. Or if you're forgetting to communicate those moments to people you care about, that's what I'm talking about. If you're afraid to be vulnerable, if you're afraid to just let yourself realize that this moment's important, because one of the reasons why people tend to be afraid to feel those moments is because they don't want to lose them. It can feel painful to realize this moment won't last forever, and that people grow up, kids grow up. Sometimes people break up, people pass away, people die. So when we are focusing on the moments and the specialness of it, we also tend to get afraid and we jump out of it. And that is what I've learned from the other side. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave in the comments below and let me know what you think. Let me know what you feel you got out of this, or maybe you even had these experiences yourself, these like kind of revelations, because that realm does try to pass you this information. People you love and who have passed will definitely try to tell you this kind of information in your subconscious, in your dreams and things like this. Also wanted to let you guys know I'm going to be doing a class on astral projection. Yes, classes are back, and it's not going to be to the end of the month, not to the 22nd, to give you guys plenty of time to sign up. You can come live, or you can watch the video later, or you can do both. And I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, I post most stuff on Instagram. I try to communicate with you guys here, but I post a lot of stuff on Instagram, and you can follow me there. And I have a Patreon if you want to jump on, because I do put special different content on there and offer different types of things that get a little more in depth into this realm. So follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice. Enjoy the moments, and I'll see you soon.